Cars Channel News and Review Car.
(2018) Volkswagen Atlas, 3-row SUV made in US. Volkswagen has finally unveiled the Atlas, a 3-row, 7-seat SUV the automaker hopes will turn it into a major player in the mainstream market in the United States. This is the vehicle that was first previewed in 2013 by the Cross Blue concept. It will be built at VW's plant in Chattanooga, Tennessee and is expected in showrooms in the spring of 2017, following its world debut this week at the 2016 Los Angeles Auto Show. It arrives as a 2018 model. Like the Cross Blue concept, the Atlas is based on the flexible MQB platform found in the smaller Golf and other models from the Volkswagen Group. The Atlas features the largest version of the platform and is aimed at the value-oriented family crowd. Competitors include the Chevrolet Traverse, Ford Motor Company, NYSE, Explorer, Honda Pilot, and Toyota Highlander. The Atlas measures 198.3 inches in length, 77.9 in width and 69.6 in height. This makes it the largest vehicle in VW's fleet. Inside, there's a big and airy cabin which features a design nearly identical to the Cross Blue concept, with big knobs, a large touchscreen infotainment system, and wood trim. At launch, the Atlas will have two powertrain options. The base option will be a 238 horsepower turbocharged 2.0-liter inline-4 and above this will sit a 280 horsepower 3.6-liter V6 option. A diesel option was originally planned but was dropped due to the emissions scandal still plaguing VW. Instead, we'll likely see a hybrid option at some point to cater to fuel-conscious buyers. The inline-4 will be offered exclusively with front-wheel drive while the V6 will have the option of all-wheel drive. Either engine will be mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission. VW says EPA-rated fuel economy will be announced closer to the market launch. Some tech items include standard LED lights at both ends, an available Fender audio system with 12 speakers, available Apple CarPlay and Android Auto smartphone integration, and numerous electronic driving aids including adaptive cruise control, forward collision warning, automatic emergency braking, and blind spot and lane departure warning. Volkswagen has been touting its late-to-the-party midsize 3-row SUV, to be built alongside the Passat in Chattanooga, for years now. A concept version called the Cross Blue first appeared 3.5 years ago. But now, it's finally real, and we've just driven a pre-production prototype of the company's answer to the Ford Explorer and the Toyota Highlander. One reason it has taken so long is that the Tennessee factory had to be expanded and equipped for this North America-focused machine. We also toured the plant where test cars are now being assembled. Full production is expected to start in mid-December, with the SUV appearing in dealerships early in the second quarter of 2017 as a 2018 model. You'll notice we haven't named this SUV yet. That's because VW has yet to do so. Officials said they have a name in mind and clarified that the SUV will wear a different name in North America, its primary market, than it will in export form. VW said it was negotiating with another automaker on a name. Reading between the lines, it could be that the badge they want for our model is an out-of-use trademark. Built on VW's MQB platform, the production model retains a character line running the full length of the vehicle above the wheels, but it's less accentuated than it was on the Cross Coupe GTE concept, a follow-up to the original Cross Blue, that was displayed at the 2015 Detroit Auto Show. The distinctive line looks better than it did when overstated on the concept and is probably easier to produce for the sheet metal supplier Gestamp, which is co-located at the Chattanooga Industrial Park surrounding VW's factory. The car we drove was camouflaged on both ends, but we saw the complete body in white and, briefly, one finished and uncovered vehicle during our factory tour. In stance and dimensions, it resembles the Ford Explorer but with Passat-like details and cues. Also different from the concept is the D-pillar/liftgate portion, which is more upright, as expected. The liftgate opens conventionally with a release above the license plate, rather than employing a swiveling VW badge as both the release mechanism and handle in the clever manner of the Golf's hatchback. We couldn't open the liftgate on our drive because the camo interfered, but it had a power-operated lift mechanism that kicked in when we tried the release. Getting into it. Entry to the driver's seat is via an easy, car-like motion, much like getting into a Toyota Highlander, with less of a step up than is required for the Explorer. The example we drove was a V6-powered all-wheel drive model, and our experience was limited to gravel roads and an excursion onto groomed off-roading trails in Tennessee's Prentice Cooper State Forest, about 45 minutes away from the factory. The base model will be front-wheel drive with VW's 2.0-liter turbocharged four-cylinder, which makes 200 horsepower in the smaller Tiggan. The car we drove had the 3.6-liter narrow-angle V6, which generates 280 horses in today's Touareg and Passat. VW hasn't released final power ratings for this application, but we don't expect them to vary far from those figures. We anticipate 0 to 60 mph times will be in the low 8-second range with the 4 and in the low 7s for the V6. In comparison, the Explorer's top engine, a 365 horsepower 3.5-liter turbocharged V6, delivers 60 mph from a stop in 6 seconds flat, while the Highlander's naturally aspirated 3.5-liter V6 does the deed in 7.3 seconds. We have yet to test the 2017 Highlander with its updated V6. The Ford and Toyota SUVs are the top sellers in the segment and VW's primary targets, although for driving pleasure we prefer the Dodge Durango and the Mazda CX-9. VW is leaving the door open to a possible diesel variant of its new SUV, but those might all be left to export markets. More likely is a hybrid in later model years, but officials would not indicate whether they had in mind a conventional hybrid like that used in the Toyota Highlander or a plug-in like the one VW showed in that 2015 concept. If we had to put money down, we'd bet on the latter. Seen side by side, VW's new 3-row vehicle looks only a little larger than the Touareg, but it is much more spacious inside, largely because the engine is mounted transversely. It's longitudinal in the Touareg. The one we drove had a 60-40 split folding second-row bench seat and 8-passenger capacity. We expect VW also will offer center-row captain's chairs for a 7-seat configuration, given that its primary competitors do so. The new VW also is meant to sell at prices closer to the heart of the U.S. market for such large crossovers, starting in the $30,000 range where the Touareg has been hampered by being a more premium vehicle with stickers typically in the $50,000 neighborhood. VW will continue to offer the Touareg in America, but its hopes for expanded sales volumes rest in this new model. It will be joined on the lower end by a long wheelbase, 3-row version of the new Tiggan and, in some future model year, by an even smaller crossover. The current 2-row Tiggan may continue alongside the new, longer one until that smaller vehicle is ready. The new SUV, it will be easier to keep this all straight when it gets a name, has a Passat-inspired instrument panel and a flat-bottomed steering wheel with controls for the IP's center-mounted information screen and audio system. It all looked like standard MQB hardware, but most of the rectilinear dashboard was camouflaged, and we never saw the infotainment system display at its center. Driving the whatever it's called. A console-mounted dial offers selections among all-wheel drive modes, snow, sport, on-road, and off-road. The latter is customizable, presumably via a touchscreen menu, and we were told it had been set up specifically for our drive on the trail through the forest. As in the Golf-based Taltrack wagon we also sampled briefly on these gravel roads, the all-wheel drive system is on demand most of the time, sending torque to the rear axle only in low traction situations. In these pavement-free circumstances, we never got to experience it in front-wheel drive mode, Although we did manage a mile or two of 45 to 50 miles per hour in sport mode, which tightens steering response and amends the throttle and transmission programming. On the gravel roads, the vehicle we drove felt solid, quiet, and smooth in operation with comfortable seating and with good sightlines outward, excepting only the rear quarters, where the windows were partially covered by camouflage. Acceleration was more than sufficient for the conditions and felt on par with or a little better than a Highlander, but not as vigorous as that of the Ford Explorer Sport, just as you might expect. Steering and handling reminded us immediately of the Passat, while the brakes felt strong. On the off-road trails through the woods, the all-wheel drive system performed well, and the vehicle exhibited long, supple suspension travel, which is useful in rough terrain. The trail didn't present any challenges that had us wishing for the greater abilities of a trail-rated Jeep, but it was more extreme than most owners will ever attempt and narrow enough to drive the parking sensors nuts with warning beeps as we progressed at appropriately cautious speeds. The suspension height is not adjustable, and while hill descent control worked well and appropriately in response to brake and throttle inputs, there's no button to engage it on command. This is not a vehicle for dedicated off-road adventurers, but like several others in the segment, it performed beyond our modest expectations.